Are you following the Kyrie Irving situation? I think it's starting to reveal that the Black Hebrew Israelite slash anti-Semitism view may be very prevalent within among NBA players. Yeah, look, okay. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Every time I say it, people are like, "Oh, you can't say that because you're white." But that's just me, just the bold, daring individual who's willing to go further, to do something no white man has ever done before, and criticize the black community. The Brooklyn Nets finally suspended Kyrie Irving for a minimum of 5 games without pay, hours after he once again refused to apologize for publicizing a film that embraces and disseminates anti-Semitism. My man over here, 3 minutes. Wow. Okay, sure, go for it.
Yeah, I think I can ask a better question. It's just, where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America? Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid dealing with learning about the traumatic events of my familial history?
All right, okay, I have talked about the ideology of the Black Hebrew Israelites several times before on stream. As we've discovered, it is completely incoherent. It is a jumbled mix of neo-Nazism, Judaism, and mostly Christianity. There's no consistency. There's not really like a strong underpinning set of beliefs. The most consistent belief really is the neo-Nazism. That's the strong, sort of foundational principle there. But let's talk like emotionally. Like, where does this come from emotionally, okay? I want to do something crazy here, never before done. I, a white boy, will sympathize with black people. Are you ready for it? Okay, listen up. So, being black in America actually really sucks. Okay? Now let me tell you why. Now, when I'm streaming, we tend to talk about like factual stuff. We tend to talk about stuff like average income, household wealth, likelihood of being stopped by the police. And these are valuable metrics for understanding the experiences of different groups in this country. But they're not everything. I want to talk to you about the most important, by far the most important metric that can't be empirically analyzed when it comes to race relations in this country. Feeling like you belong. It's ephemeral, it's difficult to pin down, but it's a real thing, you know? If you're black in America, so much of this country's history and culture is a reminder to you that this really isn't your place. Now, a lot of people don't get this because they've never even felt like whether they belonged here was a point in question. They never even considered, like I don't, for example. My parents respectively are like Catholic, Polish, Catholic, Irish. Going back far enough. I think I'm a fourth generation immigrant, so I've been in the States for long enough that nobody would really consider me like the descendant of immigrants. Like, colloquially, nobody would. But I've never wondered, like, do I have a right to be here? But some people do. And the reason for that is because our culture gives a lot of implicit and explicit messages about who this country actually is for. So I'll give you a good example, right? Okay? Now, slavery, not great, as it turns out. Not a great thing. Not good. Slavery in its history is one of the most like defining elements of American culture and race relations. Almost everything about the American economy, the way our states settled, the way our politics developed, has to do with slavery and the impact of its removal following the Civil War. Seriously, think about it. The Civil War and a ton of politics before the Civil War were dictated almost entirely by the logistics of who gets to keep the slaves, what are the rules with the slaves, how long do we get to keep the slaves. They were arguing about slavery before the Revolutionary War. They were arguing about it after. They decided they couldn't like outlaw slavery until at least, what was it, 1820, but then it got pushed back even further. We had a civil war over slavery. We then had like 100 years of apartheid over slavery because the South was mad they never got slavery. And then all the issues surrounding apartheid and Jim Crow laws got, after the civil rights movement, kind of analogized into stuff like segregationism or busing or, adjacent issues. But it all comes down to slavery, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it really comes down to like who gets to be in charge of this country. Everyone or white people. At the very least, not black people. Now, imagine how it feels being black in a country where this is like basically the like long-standing ideological footprint that everyone sort of dances around. And you grow up in an environment where people pretend we live in a meritocracy. Because that's like the American myth, right? Like everyone says, like, oh yeah, well, slavery's gone, Civil Rights Act is passed, we're all on equal footing now, you know? So all that's in the past, all that's history, everything's fine now, and if you don't succeed on your own merits, it's because of you, it's not because of any systemic stuff. This might work on like a 4-year-old, I guess, or maybe a white person, you know, people like that. But you grow up black in this country, pretty obvious, pretty quick, that ain't true, you know? That's why you get so many versions of the talk with black families where you know the parents will talk about oh, you know, you can't trust police the way they show on TV and movies. You guys know what I'm talking about? A near ubiquitous element of growing up in America while being black is being educated to understand that no matter what people say, you are not being treated as well as other groups. That's like a big part of the black Hebrew Israelite, I guess, like grievance. It's the idea that like they are legitimately oppressed and nobody takes it seriously, which to an extent is true. Obviously there are people who take it seriously, but the extent of the, you know, historical and modern oppression of black people is obviously not fully addressed in our culture, at least not by enough people to do anything about it, not to a meaningful extent. So that's a big part. What does he start with? You know, let's start over from the beginning. He opens with, well, where were you guys when I was learning about how my ancestors were enslaved? This is not a rational answer to being accused of anti Semitism. But if you feel a deep grievance, a sense of, you might call it, perceived hypocrisy, that your group has been horrifically mistreated and now everyone's mad at you for pointing out the truth about another, you see where this goes.
Are you surprised that reaction and some of
It's
the things
oppression
that
Olympics,
you
yeah.
did hurt people?
Yeah, I think I can ask a better question. It's just, where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America? Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid dealing with learning about the traumatic events of my familial history and what I'm proud to come from and why I'm proud to stand here and why when I repeat myself that I'm not going to stand down, it has nothing to do with dismissing any other race or group of people. I'm just proud of my heritage and what we've been through. And the fact that this has pinned me against the Jewish community. And I'm here answering questions of whether or not I'm sorry or not on something I didn't create. And it was something I shared. And I'm telling everybody I'm taking responsibility. Then that's where I sit. So, you know, these same questions that you guys ask, me dealing with it as being a melanated, pigmented person all around the world and dealing with racial biases against my skin color, demeaning me because of my religious beliefs, and I'm still sitting in the seat standing. So I take my full responsibility. Again, I'll repeat it, for posting something on my Instagram or Twitter that may have had some unfortunate falsehoods in it. But I also am a human being that's 30 years old, and I've been growing up in a country that's told me that I wasn't worth anything, and I came from a slave class, and I come from a people that are meant to be treated the way we get treated every day. So I'm not.
So, to those who don't know, the thing that my man over here actually did was he posted a link to. He's done a couple of things, but the thing for which he is currently getting lambasted is he posted a link to a 2018 documentary that is an adaptation of a book, Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. The book Hebrews to N-Words, Wake Up Black America touches on subjects too controversial for most authors to reveal to the people. This book will expose the truths that have been hidden by powers that be in America. Since the European and Arab slave traders stepped foot in Africa, blacks have been told lies about their heritage. This was all by Satan's design, for he is the father of lies. There is an old stereotypical expression that says, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. Well, this is the... That's a bit racist. Well, this is the book that all black people must read. Since biblical times, there has been a satanic agenda to destroy God's chosen people. This agenda still exists today and is carried on by man in many forms. Satan knows who God's chosen people are, but for centuries we have been blind to this knowledge, even though it's been right in front of our face. After many years of research, the time has finally come for all black people to know the truth. Inside Hebrews to N words, you will find the answers to all the burning questions you have wanted to ask your parents, teachers, and pastors for years. It has been said that the mind has a strong drive to correct itself over a period of time if it can touch some substantial, original, historical base about itself. This time period is ending and the truth is being exposed. Is this signs of the end times? The Bible says in the last days that knowledge will increase. It also says, in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Knowledge is the truth, and Satan's time is running out. Don't be left behind. Find out what's really going on behind the scenes as it relates to Black America then and now. Afterward, you be the judges to who God's chosen people really are and who Satan's army is really after. At the end of reading this book, I guarantee you won't regret it. Publisher, Ronald Dalton. So, hopefully I don't have to explain to you guys how this is the work of a deeply ill schizophrenic neo-Nazi, but I'll put it simply. The only reason here that there's not Holocaust denial in this publisher blurb is because then it wouldn't be on the Google bookstore. If they put the content of the book here, as opposed to just saying the truth is contained within, read this book to find out the truth, it would be removed from the Google bookstore. My man posted a link to the documentary based off this book.
I'm not here to compare anyone's atrocities or tragic events that their families have dealt with generations of time. I'm just here to continue to expose things that our world continues to put in darkness. I'm a light. I'm a beacon of light. That's what I'm here to do. You guys ask me questions about basketball, I give you my expert opinion. You guys ask me about other things, I give you my opinion, and it's met with whatever you believe the perception or the deception is. You guys investigate my life every day, and you justify it.
Do I need to explain the irrationality here? I'm not comparing oppression when that's what he opened with, like a complete denial of the relationship between these factors. I have always claimed that like Black Hebrew Israelitism is at the very least heavily concurrent with mental illness, and I do genuinely believe that. I really genuinely do. I said before that one of the big like emotional pillars of it is the legitimate grievance of Black oppression in the United States. And another big one is, and here's the thing, okay? So you guys know how it's basically like a go-to bitch baby cope for people to like get mad at the system and say that it's Jews or whatever. Like this has been going on for basically centuries, where it's like, you know, like anytime like, oh, interest rates rose, oh yeah, it's the Jews. This, that, the other. Anything bad happened, it's the Jews. Well, here's the thing, okay? Usually when that statement is being made, it's being made by people who have a lot of social power, right? Like, if you're like a white guy in 1950s America, a very anti-Semitic place and time, by the way. You know, if you're some like Mad Men motherfucker, that was the 60s, whatever, and you're and you're just sort of casually anti-Semitic, you know, and something goes a way you don't like and you bitch about that, that's one thing. But at the end of the day, you're a white guy in 1950s America, right? That's not to say you can't be a neo-Nazi. Lord knows we had plenty of them, you know, Operation Paperclip and all. But I feel like there's kind of like a dampening effect there, where even if you pursue that anti-Semitism to its logical conclusion with the neo-Nazi shit, you might be mitigated in part by social factors that are sort of associated with your relative social privilege. Kind of in the way that, like, a lot of problems in one's life may feel exacerbated by legitimate oppression. Do you think maybe the idea that entertainment media in Hollywood is controlled by Jews might strike a little bit harder with already anti-Semitic Black people whose primary way of achieving fame and power in the United States is through entertainment media in Hollywood? It's a well-known fact that, at least within the Black community, entertainment and sports are seen as avenues for escaping the ghetto. That these are career paths that you can take to skyrocket your fame and prestige. Who are the most famous Black people in America? They're entertainers and athletes, aren't they? It's not the same as with white. The most famous white people are like I guess politicians. They're entertainers as well. Like obviously celebrities. Obama. Oh yeah, I guess Obama. Yeah, actually, yeah, Obama probably would be the most popular or the most famous black guy in America. I wonder if anyone. I wonder if you asked people like, would Oprah be more? I don't know. Some people just don't pay attention to politics. This is tangential. Let me simplify the point. The point that I'm getting at here, and I hope you'll all agree with me in this, is that black people who are already prejudiced and who are correctly aware of their own race's oppression are very vulnerable to narratives about hidden systemic agendas to eliminate their people. And this is concurrent with the anti-Semitic belief that Jews control entertainment, which includes stuff like like ESPN and sports media. And as a result of that, there's a narrative with a lot of Black Hebrew Israelites that Jews are sort of controlling and exploiting their labor. It's like the dumb man's anti-capitalism, like said. By running record labels and by running these entertainment faculties, by controlling the media, they control the only vehicle through which black people attain any kind of social prestige. And there are a lot of Black Hebrew Israelites who believe that it's like, just speaking frankly, Jewish record labels that will deliberately promote stuff like gangsta rap as a way of keeping black culture degenerated. These are real conspiracy theories. This is an actual thing. I've seen it multiple times, even before I started doing this politics stuff, That was like a thing. It's a belief that aligns with, well, the Nazi conspiracy theory that Jews control the record labels to promote gangster rap, though they believe that the Jews are doing it in order to corrupt white people. So, I guess the only real message at the end of all this is that Jews really do get a lot of shit. Man, they get blamed for a lot. Not really fair. Take away Jews and put in capitalism and not agree with it, Vaush, but then it's not a group of people. This is something I want people to understand, and I want to be really clear about this. I do think that when a lot of people engage in like anti-Semitism conspiracy theories, they are kind of like aping some anti-capitalist critique, but it only sounds that way. It's not real. Ideologically, anti-Semitism and anti-capitalism are on opposite ends of the spectrum. There is no historical or contemporary evidence that people who are anti-Semitic and believe Jews control everything, and like, oh, the bankers, blah, blah, are just that close to becoming socialists if given the best argument, It's like, have you ever talked to an anti-Semite? Have you ever been like, oh, your issue is actually with banks, not with Jewish people? And they're like, oh, and then they're just a socialist? No, not really. It's about having an ethnic group of people to hate. At the end of the day, the motivating force behind anti-Semitism is not economic inequality. It's not grievance with economic institutions. That's not real. If that was the case, then why are all the neo-Nazis who are so concerned with Jewish bankers supportive of Republican austerity politics? Right? Like, oh, you hate the way the banks and usury and blah, blah. Okay, then why are you anti-welfare, in favor of rampant corporate greed, anti-union? How can you hate the Jews perceptively for controlling the world's economy, but you love Elon Musk, who's known for mistreating his workers? The answer, of course, is that they just don't like Jewish people. I.e., infrared and Japs and ankles do blur the lines. No, they don't. They're just anti-Semites. They don't blur the lines at all. Wasn't Marx a little bit anti-Semitic? Marx was culturally Jewish and had issues with Jewish people as a kind of like daddy issues thing. I think in one of Marx's essays, he very unfortunately titles it something like The Jewish Question, which, keep in mind, this was like 60 years before the Jewish question that we know was penned. But I think that when Marx, I think Marx, it was like a daddy issue thing. It was like the Jews are always making you clean up your room and tuck in your bed, like that kind of thing. I think it was kind of like that, if I remember correctly. Anyway, the ADL, who people like him would ignore because they'd call it Jewish. This is a little blurb they wrote on the documentary, which, so very subtle here. you have like a rabbi and then a black. So you know you have two rabbis in the back, and then the black guy up here in front. You know, it's very subtle imagery. The most anticipated documentary film. The film promotes beliefs commonly found among anti-Semitic and extremist factions of the BHI movement, including claims that modern Jews are imposters who stole the religious heritage of black people and have engaged in a cover-up to prevent black people from knowing their true identity. While much of the film deals with historical and genetic arguments about various racial and ethnic groups, it also includes extensive anti-Semitism, including claims of a global Jewish conspiracy to oppress and defraud black people, allegations Jews are in part responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, and the claim that Jews falsified the history of the Holocaust in order to conceal their nature and protect the status and power. It's just a Nazi film. So it's Nazi shit? Yes. Yes. The black Hebrew Israelite community is just Blitler. It's just black guys who drank too many Hitler particles and are now Blitler. That's it. Blitler particles. Funny thing is, as far as I know, Jews don't believe in Satan. No, they don't. So how could they worship? Black Hebrew Israelites don't have a real religion. Much in the same way that all the, like, Nazi tradcath convert 17-year-old no-fap losers on Twitter don't actually believe in Catholicism and just saw one too many Deus Vult crusade memes while they were crying about how, like, the girl they had a crush on in sophomore year went for a black guy instead. Like, they don't actually believe the religion. They don't have a deep religious faith. It reminds me of Nick Fuentes, where there was that big leak from one of his former associates, where there was like, yeah, Nick Fuentes isn't even religious. He got annoyed when people were doing like a prayer circle with rosary beads. Like, he's not, because of course they're not religious. They don't care. They just saw Crusader memes.
By serving your own purpose, which I honor. I would like the same respect in return. Figuring out just like anyone else. So please keep that same energy when we're talking about anti-other things. Because just because I post a documentary doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. And doesn't mean that I'm automatically standing with everyone that is believing in that. So it's unfortunate timing that we're in, but I'm glad that I could stand on the truth because I'm not afraid of these mics, these cameras. I used to be looking everyone in the eye and telling them the truth. But I'm proud of who I am. Any label that you put on me, I'm able to dismiss because I study. I know the Oxford Dictionary, you look it up, right? One of the biggest mistakes I had in being a kid was not knowing European or Western language until I started looking it up and understanding the definitions and why they say, if you want to trick a black person, put it in a book.
Oh. Where have we heard that before? This is also quite racist. I just, in case anyone's curious, I think that's actually a racist thing to say. I'm just putting my opinion forward, not to question a black guy on matters, of personal import. But
I was wondering my whole life why they said that. Now I'm 30 years old and I know reading is a superpower because it helps me understand where I'm going and where I come from, like a tree with roots.
Are you surprised?
Meanwhile, I think earlier today, I wonder if my editors will have to blur the text on screen. Now that's what I call overdosed on Hitler particles. Yeah, that's a lot of Hitler particles right there. Whew. Oh, God. Yeah, ODing on Hitler particles. Dude, please take your meds. My man literally was like, the Jewish doctor tried to make me take bipolar medicine, but I wisely outsmarted him. And as you can all see, on account of my mental stability, that was a good decision on my part. We really are. Okay, look, let me just end this segment with this, okay? For years now, the Republican Party has fronted their racism by using black people as a shield. The most obvious example of this would probably be Candace Owens, who has, literally defended Hitler. I don't think Candace Owens personally believes anything, but let's hire a just monstrous person who happens to be black to reiterate all of our worst positions, and then if anyone attacks her, she'll accuse them of being racist. That's been like a long-standing tactic. And what we're seeing right now is the exact same strategy being weaponized to its fullest extent, the promotion of neo-Nazism. Between Irving and Yi, what we have are two incredibly popular and powerful black men who are essentially just promoting Nazi ideology, and they're doing so from behind a shield, But again, I'm the brave enough white boy to say it. I am. Being black doesn't mean you get to be Hitler. I'm sorry. Yep. I'm saying it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you get to be Hitler. I don't think Blitler is better than Hitler. Nope. Nope. Mm-mm. Nope, nope. Coming out. This take. Funny how after the Professor Flowers controversy, no one wants to acknowledge they were wrong. I thought that the Professor Flowers controversy just ended up blowing up because of the optics of me talking down to, deservedly so, a black woman. But that ended up being predictive of what might end up being one of the most influential political developments of the year, which is this like this like weakness in criticizing far right ideologies when expressed through a veneer of anti-racism from black people. This might actually like I can't believe it, but you know, I've always been saying this. The only way to save the world is for white people to get better at talking down to shitty black people. No. Like I like you can this is so bad at the face of it that you can almost like make this not a race thing. I actually believe that. Like Ye and Irving are so objectively wrong that I feel like the idea that race even comes into this in terms of like debunking or denouncing it is really like weird, right? You know what I mean? Like the claims they're making are so outlandish that I feel like we're like calling the race card on like them saying that the Earth is flat, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, you know, my black ancestry tells me the Earth was flat. Our ancient wisdom has been oppressed and colonized by Western. Like, you can just go up to them and slap them. You don't have to. You don't have to have a debate with them on like colonization and racial history to talk with them about the flat earth thing, you know? It's bigotry of low expectations, no. I just want left-leaning white people, because that's the group that has trouble with this. When I argue with black people, it's not other black people who come after me. It's well-meaning, white, left-leaning people. And I just want that group of people to understand that Blitler particles are as bad as Hitler particles, okay? They're the same particle. The Blitler particle is simply just a, what is it, an ion of the Hitler particle? An ion, right? Doesn't that mean it has like an electrical charge? Like there's one more electron or one less electron? Yeah. Isotope. Yeah. Yeah. It's an isotope, okay? Like matter and antimatter? No, because matter and antimatter explode when they collide, but Hitlers and Blitlers just work together. I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, in World War II, if there had been, like, a radical populist, racialist, like, pan-Africanist leader in, like, I don't know, Ethiopia or some shit during World War II, they wouldn't have fought against Hitler. They would have worked together with Hitler. I don't... Fashion, like, it's for the same reason that the Germans were willing to call the Japanese honorary Aryans, despite being on the literal opposite side of the planet, separated by the breadth of Asia, the entirety of Asia, all the way over there. They were still calling them honorary Aryans. And you know what they would have done if there was some, like, radical, you know, racialist Pan-African? They would have been like, oh yeah, honorary Aryans. They just would have done it again. They would have, yeah. Maybe in the future they would have fought, but Marcus Garvey actually liked Hitler until Hitler said black people sucked or something. Yeah. Isn't this kind of like how TERFs use their womanhood to protect them from criticism when they talk about how they should kill the transes? Yes. We need to get better at dealing with like the bad faith, I'm actually the victim here and here's why we should do another genocide take. And the only answer to it is to ruthlessly mock them and cut through it. You can't entertain them. Like, who here has succeeded in opposing like gender critical ideology by sitting down and going like, oh, I'm so concerned about the rights and safety of biological women, but we have to address, like, that doesn't work. Has anyone ever gotten anything from doing that? It doesn't work. It's a bad faith front that they put forward to distract you from the actual point of the matter. Just cut through it. And this is what I got mad about with the rest of the left when they came after me because I said J.K. Rowling should shut up, or like women shut up day or so, and then like the left was like, Vaush, don't you know that actually your light kindergarten tier misogyny is what's motivating the TERF attacks on trans people? Don't you know that it's motivated by your behavior, and that if all millions and billions of progressive people just never say anything remotely objectionable ever, then she'll have nothing to quote tweet? Like, oh god. We're going to lose, and it's going to be over stuff like this. When historians look back on this period of time, I'll be in a mass grave. I'll have died at 29 or something. And they'll be like, there was a revolutionary leader, a world that might have been. People will write like Man in the High Castle tier alternate universe fan fiction about a world where white people were brave enough to yell at black people. If only the rest of America had been this. It'll open like the year this will be written was be like 2152 or something. It'll be like 2038, and it'll be like a cold open to like two men in like a glass tower like a kilometer tall looking over Seattle. The world beneath them is beautiful and futuristic. Everyone gets, everyone lives to 97, everyone can retire at 30, whatever, and it's described in great detail the beauty of this world. And it's me. It's they say Ian Koczynski. He's looking down, with this impressive sterling beard and broad shoulders. And then and the new guy to the NGO that he works at, shows up and walks up to him. He's a black guy. He's carrying a clipboard. And the black guy walks up and he's like, "Hey, I have an idea." And he explains the idea. And then I look at him and I say, "That's and I don't care about your race." Dun-na! And then it's like, "Oh, that's what that's what saved America." Because he could do that. I'm never gonna get uncanceled by the fucking left. Hey, quick reminder that in spite of all the stupid bullshit that I've been going on about, if you take a look at like reactionary positions, white people are worse than black people on like every issue. Okay, just a quick reminder that while nothing that I have said here is untrue, just remember, like, I don't want anyone having any like patronizing like, if only the black people knew better, because they do. Face. If you thought that, statistically speaking, you're probably white, so you shouldn't be talking. All right.